Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I'm your host, Scott Ramp, and an abrupt start to you guys this morning. It is Friday, October 22nd, and I'm here to kind of usher you into the weekend, kind of tell you what's going on in the news here and there. Not too much heavy on the news, but just more. I have my city council report. They're going to be talking a little bit more about how they're adding security to the POV and their extensions during the emergency winter shelter. But let's kick things off with it's basically what the cute phrase has been going on is Striketober. We're going to start off with a little bit of John Deere. John Deere went on strike last Wednesday, and basically most of them never had to because it would have not affected the certain current employees as much as exposing to the tier employee ideology. So how this works is basically you have your union employees who are already in there, and they are going to get paid, a fair wage, but then the next tier system, like new employees or anything like that, will not be able to get the same benefits as the one before them. And then the employees at John Deere and their union, 90% of them to the deal said, no way. And then without any negotiations, they said they had to renegotiate, make sure that everyone is covered, new employees, future employees, current employees, or they're going to go on strike, which they did. So what's the point of getting what you deserve, a livable wage with a pension post-retirement, if people, after you get the shaft, what's the point? Plainly speaking, I believe the right-to-work state is garbage. Sure, there's some instances where like some corporations and some companies are not big enough to basically sustain certain pensions. Sure, you can bypass union dues, but overall, what's the point of working when the money you get is only the money you have? Most people nowadays have enough money to pay the rent, and you are meant to believe that's good enough. Well, it isn't. I was told by a friend a couple years back that if you don't have enough for a rainy day fund, like medical expenses, stuff like that, to pay all your bills for at least 3 months post job, you will not be able to use the time to find the right job and be forced to get the kind of jobs that many people are just not getting nowadays and just don't want. Fast forward to Striketober, a cute name for a long time coming. You have workers being forced back to work, longer hours, and very little room for better pay. The Frito-Lay company just decided to let people have a day off on Sundays, even though they were working 7 days a week, and then they would incentivize them, saying, if you work nonstop for like 60 days, you get some kind of bonus, like $200 bonus, whatever. You have places like Kellogg, the cereal place. Then you got truckers doing a slowdown in support, and then you have an avert and delay strike in Hollywood for PAs, grips, costumes, and various other workers that have to be there long hours while the actors show up for maybe 2 to 4 hours and get $2 million just for showing up. So anyways, John Deere has a strong union with about tens of thousands of employees disagreeing with the new contract that would have seen great support for current employees, but putting the future employees on a gaslighting circuit. From the corporate sides, it's better to pay people what you think they owe them and making them think that they're getting enough and hiring right-to-work workers who don't need a union because their state government supports bigger business rather than the citizens who work there. Montana is a right-to-work state, by the way. Anyways, the strike is ongoing. John Deere employees are tired of their bosses making more money and getting more hours for little pay. So, and working more hours for little pay. So let me rephrase that. A financial planner on any iteration would tell you that you should only be paying a quarter of your paycheck for rent and mortgage. Google will tell you you need about like a third or whatever. But being able to have wages going towards your home, living expenses, kids, and finally that rainy day fund that most people don't really think about it because you might have a health emergency as you're getting older, you're raising your kids, and maybe you have a hernia or any kind of like disc with your back and stuff like that. So it's something that you really have to look out for just in future planning. But I got to say, just good luck John Deere workers, because this kind of thing hit hard home with my sister working at a certain RV in Marina, who was giving a pay cut, made to do more work, all the while the business was seeing record sales, thriving. The last straw was when the owner decided to buy their second helicopter and still had the gall to claim they couldn't afford to pay her what they owed her. Without the corporation, there would be no jobs. I understand that. But without the workers, the corporation will not have the lifeblood to basically afford their $2 million golden parachute. parachutes. Sorry, I'm I don't want to do one thing or another, but like I spoke with a friend who didn't get vaccinated recently, and I spoke with him saying this, how many people have died from the vaccine versus those who have gotten COVID? Just really think about those metrics. It's not that hard to really think about. 700,000 people are dead. It's there's just a lot going on here, and it's just a really sad and uh, big time. NPR talked a little bit more about boosters just this morning, and talked a little bit some of the issues that even some of the vaccines have, which is kind of like some of the things that they kind of never really reported on, but now that they're starting to report a little bit more. But for those of you who've gotten Pfizer and Moderna, they have a tendency to have more inflammation of the heart among men. And then with Johnson & Johnson, it's a lot safer for men, but for women, they have a higher chances of blood clots. But a lot of times they are more related to postmenopausal women than they have been with women under that age. Of course, you hear of course, one of the things is that, inflammation of the heart is also connected to, like with COVID and the olfactory and smell, you lose your sense of taste. And, like most flus, you get congested, but you can still taste. But one of the big things about the scary thing about COVID is that, just doing a little bit more research, is that, Dr. Sanjay Gupta from CNN, he was on Joe Rogan, and he basically says that you are 80% more likely to get blood clots after getting COVID than you would from getting the vaccine. So the olfactory system, like the old tale is like if you smell toast, and there's no toast, you're about to have a stroke, and that's very related to senses of smell. So natural immunity sounds like a lazy reason to not get the vaccine. Don't listen to me. I just got to say, I just don't want to get on one side or the other. But like if you've had a history of vaccine problems in the past, boom, that's a viable reason not to get the vaccine. But if you, are just like one of those people who are just like, I get my regular flu shot, all this stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm been perfectly fine. Doom. Just think about it like that. Think about it as logically as it always has been, and just kind of think about that moving forward. Don't listen to me. Talk to your doctor if your doctor recommends, and if you have a history of bad reactions. They can give you a pass, and it's all about health versus wellness, and what are you willing to get, something by choice or something by accident. All right, so if you have any questions or vaccines, you can call the Missoula Health Department 258-INFO for local updates. They'll tell you about vaccine clinics, boosters, and more about that as well. So one of the things that are happening, not COVID-related, not strike-related, but gender discrimination at the university level. The university fired back at 4 women who have claimed the university is a good old boys club. The Missoula Current reportedly say that the University of Montana is mounting a defense team to take on these claims, and the U.S. came out with a statement saying the University of Montana and Montana University System strongly believes these claims are baseless and without merit. The joint statement said that we look forward to vigorously defending our institution in court. The University of Montana is committed to providing a working and learning environment that is free from all forms of discrimination. The 4 women, 1 current employee, and 3 former employees claimed gender discrimination on different instances. Kathy Cole, hired in 2018, said that the current president, Seth Bodner, micromanaged and consistently changed her duties, including statements that she should smile more, and commented on her weight and appearance. Missoula Current pretty much left that part out, but the university plans to mount a legal defense. Another plaintiff is a former Montana Museum of Art and Culture director, Barbara Akustra, also claimed that she often was not listened to, and said that she expanded the collection by $30 million with art exhibits that include Monet, Rainier, Rembrandt, Chanel, and others. And I even remember the exhibit showing the copies of the complete works of Shakespeare. I think it was like volume 2, which is like 300 years old, so it's pretty cool. And so far, the report goes into exposing the fact that leadership levels are dominated by men, while many of the places are also dominated by women by quantity, but just not on the leadership levels. I suggest you look into the Daily Montanan and also the reporting from the Missoula Current. They're all both written by the same person. I started to think one way, but it's one of those things that really has to kind of go through the system so we can bubble up to the surface. Of course, this does remind me of the story about actually. Let's forget that. I have a lot of things also going on. There's a lot of things going on here. I just don't want to bog you down with a lot of information. But this is an ongoing thing that's happening, and we'll see how it all turns out. And I think it's very important that these kind of cases come to fruition, whether or not something happened or did not happen. But at the same time, we're going to keep an eye on that as well. So some sad Missoula news today. Missoula Mayor John Engen's mother passed away. Dolores Engen was 92 years old and long out of the woods when she contracted COVID last year. Of course, I made a tribute video featuring the city council members who spoke and gave condolences to Mayor John Engen, who was not in attendance for the city council meeting on Monday. So here's this, and when I come back, I'm going to talk about some movies.
On behalf of myself and I'm sure many, many others throughout the community, offer my condolences to the mayor on the passing of his mother. With that, we'll go to council comments.
I just wanted to join you in offering my condolences to the mayor and the passing of his mother. I know how much she meant to him and how hard he worked these past few months, if not past few years, to be a caregiver for her, and how much that takes out of a person. So just wanted to pass those condolences along to Mayor Engen.
It's very impressive that a older man like that would take his mom in the situation she was in and give the care that he did for her. That's pretty impressive and says a lot about him.
Can't even imagine what the mayor is going through right now. Losing your mother would be like losing a part of your soul. So my deepest condolences go out to his family, him, and all of their loved ones.
It was quite a feat, and I think a lot of us saw firsthand the emotional toll it took on him, for her caring for him in the latter part of as she was dying. And he said that while she took such good care of him when he was born and raised, it was the least he could do. And I do think that that does say a lot about him, and it obviously says a lot about her, what a truly amazing woman she was.
As I think about the fact that he got COVID taking care of his mother when she had COVID, and they got through that together, and it's been a long road for him, and I know that while he's really happy he's been able to be there for her, the end has been really hard. So
thank you. I also would like to offer the mayor my condolences.
I would also like to chime in on the condolences, if you will, to the mayor. Having lost my mother 6 years ago, there's never seems to be a day that I seem to sorry. Sometimes just losing a parent just has a lot of impact on a person, and little smiles and little things that happen remind us of the wonderfulness of the people in our lives. And I just want to let him know he'll never forget her, because you can never forget your mama. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Hey guys, welcome back. Let's talk about some movies that are coming out this weekend. Kicking things off is Dune. You know, I actually watched the movie last night, so this isn't much about Pre-Critic than Post-Critic. The whole movie is basically leading up to the meeting between Paul Atreides, the main character, and the female foisted love interest. Basically just being like, she's going to be a love interest, she's going to be a love interest. And basically this whole movie, it's like, okay, so what's the deal with movies when they happen in the desert? They have to have that kind of song that goes, hey, and then it's just like, it's okay. Anyways, they always do this in all the movies. It's really ridiculous and stuff like that. So anyways, they kind of built this movie up just so they can meet Zendaya, and then Zendaya's like, hey, what's up? And then boom, it's done. That's it. That's basically the whole build up to just meeting her. But there's a bunch of other things that happen there. From the Star Wars movie ripoff comes a re-ripoff of Star Wars, because Dune came first. And just imagine a desert planet with a warrior looking to bring peace and justice to a lawless space where a mighty controls the melange. The spice of Star Wars is alive and well. And how many times will I reference Star Wars? As much as possible. Freaks will the actuallys will be say like, actually Dune came first, and the whole idea of Dune is basically what shaped what Star Wars would be nowadays. And so, like, of course, you know, the Star Wars movie came out first before Dune, so too late. Sorry, Dune, you snooze, you lose. Up next, we have a movie called The French Dispatch. Yes, Wes Anderson, people, so you know exactly what you're going to get out of this. A love letter to old journalism, and Wes Anderson directs, so you will need to know. You won't have to know anything else, losers. Anyways, follow the story of telling an anthology about news from the early 20th century to about 80s and 1980s and 1970s. Follow stories about people and those who write them, pretend to be sophisticated and say you like Wes Anderson films, and realize he likes to bring gravitas and other big words to otherwise forgettable movies. People remember them fondly, but you can really say that these movies are, you can really basically say what these movies are all about. You know, daddy issues, that's a big one. people being quirky in attitudes, like highly intelligent, but also just extremely dumb, just in their actions overall. But things just kind of happen, and we're supposed to follow. And when you get lost, you feel stupid to ask, which obviously you must be getting lost in my description of this because, heck, it's just a Wes Anderson movie. Up next, we have Ron's Gone Wrong. Imagine a world of future robots, short-circuit, sassy robots trying to find their place in the world. The robot develops a personality, and an awkward kid who has no control over his own life must forge an unlikely friendship with a social media robot, turning his social media life on its head, which I'm assuming it was non-existent, but it becomes existent, and then he makes friends by proxy. I don't know. Some people are just superficial. I'm assuming the robot, Ron, is the name of the robot, uses the kid's personal information to build him friends. He didn't work hard to get the friends, and they learned that Ron was the friendship getter the whole time, and then the kid's like, I have a big speech at the end. It's going to be emotional and stuff, and it's going to be also robot friend sidekicks are always a good selling point. Enjoy cringy preteens in a 3D animated movie. All right, so that's about it for those. I have a movie from the 1960 Kurosawa film, The Bad Sleep Well.
The bearer of bad news, but it's about time that you get kicked out of this place because, hey, we're converting this into a garage. Oh, no. Please, don't do this. This is my home. Oh, jeez. Well, I'm sorry I have to do this, but could you just leave, like, today? Like, right now? Please? Evicting people is fun.
Hey guys, welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about City Council. Okay, so sorry, I just got to address the Dubbin stuff. Yeah, that was definitely low tier Dubbin for a high tier movie. Moving on, Crime Victim Advocates and Social Workers Appreciation Day was yesterday, and I wanted to amplify this proclamation in which they mentioned 1,700 survivors were helped through the Crime Victims Advocate and other avenues like the YWA shelter, which provides a form of protection and stability for those experiencing domestic violence. My first exposure to domestic violence was when I was a preteen, and a friend of his mother my friend and his mother hid from the patriarch of their family. Although they eventually made up, the feeling of fear and desperation I felt was something I'll never forget. Jesse Ramos reflects on his mother, who has worked with the CVS, and talks a little bit more about this.
I grew up with a single mom who was a crime victim advocate, and I saw her really put large pieces of herself into these different victims that she helped. And she had to retire a little bit earlier than most, just because she said that throughout her years, she just gave so much to these different women. And she told me that time and time again, she would give a small piece of herself until there was really no more to give. So the amount of stress and sacrifice that these women do for these victims is just absolutely incredible. I posted something on my mom's wall on Facebook not too long ago. She's been retired for 6 years, wishing her a happy birthday, and just the outpouring of support that she got from victims that were able to escape that domestic violence and escape that life that they were in because of her. Not all did, unfortunately, and those were always the most heartbreaking when these women pour their life and soul into trying to help these gals, and then unfortunately the perpetrator is able to I think scam these women back into their lives. It's very heartbreaking. So I think that people don't really realize that when they think of crime victim advocate, how much the job entails and how much these women give to the victims and how hard it is on them and how thankless the job really is. So I just want to thank all the women in the field right now and encourage the survivors and people that are in a domestic situation to reach out to these gals, because you'll get nothing but the best from them. And I can't thank them enough from the bottom of my heart for the work that they do.
And if you or somebody you know is dealing with the domestic violence, even if it's just a feeling, you can call the Crime Victim Advocates at 258-3830. Again, that number is 258-3830. But you also, if you're looking to find a place, the shelter or someplace to be supported and hidden from the domestic violence, you can call the YWCA emergency hotline at 1-800-483-7858. Again, that number is 1-800, just a toll-free number, 483-7858. and just so you know, there's the false reports in Missoula are very low in Missoula, and if you feel like you're being if you like the police can't do anything for you, YWC and crime victim advocates are there to help. Another big issue happening in Missoula is staffing problems for the Palvarella homeless shelter. Jill Bonney, executive director from the Palvarella Center, talks a little bit more about what they're doing to help mitigate this.
We're nervous that we won't have enough people to open on November 1st, but we're moving forward and just continuing to try to get people hired.
Okay.
Yeah, just the same struggles everybody is having in town right now.
People
Okay.
who
So basically, the city put up $311,000 through ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan money, through COVID funds to shelter during the winter and provide security this winter to make folks are safe, and also work with the 50% capacity at the POV while also dispersing at 4 other locations around town. Gwen Jones also reflects on this too.
We're barely making it, frankly, don't make it financially when we have something like the pandemic impact us. And also our housing costs in Missoula have exponentially gone up. So all of these factors come together to create more people who need to be housed, and we have less capacity. So as a result, we've got numerous items in place, not only the Poverello, but the authorized camping site, which is underway through administrative channels, the temporary shelter, which is on county land, and then we've got this emergency winter shelter at Johnson Street Shelter, which was held in the same place last year. So I am happy to bring this through my committee, happy to vote on it. This is what we as a community do.
All right, so Sandra Vasica, one of the city council members, does not like the placement and the folks on the Johnson Street location, and her constituents in that area were very worried about high increase of crime and things being stolen and things being taken during last year's emergency winter shelter, and this is what she had to say in terms of that.
I have to respect my constituents' complaints on this one, and the neighbors of that center who had to deal with property crimes, sanitary issues, blatant drug use. So unfortunately, I am going to vote no tonight. If this does pass, I hope that the private security will make it better this year for the residents and the neighbors.
I mean, it's not just Johnson Street. I have a friend who lives near the Poverello Center and feels unsafe year-round and has to navigate around just to avoid some of the folks who are either camped outside the POV or just passing through. Of course, you want to help, but you also wish they won't be around. It's something I don't want to say, but it's also kind of saying the quiet part out loud. I don't blame folks. I like to walk down the street and not have people I don't know talking to me regardless of economic status. It's really uncomfortable sometimes when somebody just, we're always taught like the concept of stranger danger, and that kind of translate as we get older, and it's pretty easy to do that. So, I mean, we have squatters outside the library using the internet and hanging out there most nights. They waved at me when I was closing up. I did not expect it, and it scared the bejesus out of me. So, anyways, Julie Merritt responds to the argument, and this is what she had to say.
The argument is that we don't want the emergency winter shelter because people associated with it break the law, causing problems for some of the other community members. Well, if we apply that logic to other publicly funded infrastructure, we could look at our streets and roads. Well, numerous people break the law every day on our roads, while sometimes those are just minor infractions that don't really hurt anyone. Every day we have accidents that cause injury and death. Yet we continue to build and maintain roads because we as a society have deemed that they're necessary.
And a couple, like years ago, before they started to do the warming shelter, I believe this is going to be their 3rd year doing it, because they didn't do it a while before. The city put up about $40,000 to $50,000 for the first year of the emergency warming shelter. This is before COVID, and it was they used Salvation Army, the POV, and that was pretty much it at those times. Now they're using about 4 locations. The Johnson Street, they have the Salvation Army, the Poverello Center, of course, and then they're using that temporary safe outdoor space that's off of Highway 93, kind of like really way out there. It's really hard to convince people to go way the heck out there just to do that. Of course, the Dubbin Winter Shelter came about when the people came together to provide a warm place to stay for those who would just die of something that could have been prevented. Knowing you can stop someone from dying means a temporary inconvenience for some is worth the long-term costs. A little thing called human life. For more information, go to engagemissoula.com to get in contact with these resources. But also, if you are a concerned citizen who are just like, okay, I have many folks who are just kind of outside my building and then just won't leave. It's just one of those things that you can call them at their number, especially through the POV at 406-28. God, I'm just having trouble reading the numbers these days. 406-728. 1809. Again, that number is 728-1809, area code 406. I always have to mention that as well because I don't know who would be watching. And so far, the winter warming shelter will start November 1st and run through April. They originally had it in pretty much they would always start it around November. They might start it a little bit earlier, but the whole idea is that they usually end it in March, but like winter kind of seems to start later and later every year, so they just wanted to extend it a little bit longer just because we always have a couple cold snaps throughout April. So anyways, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the security that they're going to be providing there as well, but I'm going to switch gears and talk about some of this public safety and health in terms of firefighters looking to get an update on their breathing apparatuses, not scuba, but their SCUBA, which is also the self-contained breathing apparatus minus the U. And it's going to be $885,000 ticket price, and this will allow them to have equipment for up to 15 years. So it's not just like you buy it once every year. This is like you buy it and then you basically have it for 15 years, and they're on top of it. Brad Davis, Assistant Fire Chief, spoke about the new containers.
The newer bottles that we are looking at, the newer NFPA compliant bottles, are an increase in air pressure. We're going from a 4,500 PSI bottle to a 5,500 PSI bottle. And our fill station here at our headquarters station where we refill the bottles with air, we have a safety chamber that we put the bottles in when we fill them up, and they have a blast chamber. So if they were to have a catastrophic failure while filling, it protects the user from that. We're working with the manufacturer to see if our fill station is rated to fill 5,500 bottles. Our compressor and our air system is rated for that. But what we don't know, and we're working with the Mako manufacturer, is to make sure that that blast chamber is rated for that higher PSI.
All right, so one of the big things is that they wanted to make sure that the only thing they would have to replace are the tanks, but then the air filter station, according with the blast containment, as they're saying, because they were talking about catastrophic failure, because it's compressed air, and so they want to figure out a way to keep the air system, because that system itself would cost a lot of money, because it also has to withstand any kind of catastrophic explosions from the air tanks as well. Of course, this would allow the fire department to beat the deadline on their 15-year expiration date. Also, ARPA funds are going towards the fire department that equates about $278,000 for keeping their PPE clean. And the PPE is basically the protective gear that they wear, and they're always worried about. One of the things that they want to do is to have a way to have a consistent level of cleaning it, so they can get rid of some of the cancerous carcinogens that basically starts caking up on it after certain fires and certain things. Well, there's a lot of buildings, any buildings that were built like before 1970 has a chance of having asbestos, and that's one of the things they wanted to help avoid. So the next deal is the clothes they wear. Brady Brewster, Fire Chief, talks about this a little bit more, and this is what he had to say.
Being able to protect our individuals the best we can, and that is one of the identified items of the Lavender report, aside from station cleanliness with our exhaust systems in the station. There's a multitude of ways that we are still looking at approaching keeping our firefighters protected from the carcinogens that they are exposed to on a day-to-day basis.
Of course, this is just talking a lot about the monies and the stuff that goes into new equipment. There's always a big cost for a lot of their equipment, but the Missoula Fire Department have a good record of just kind of like really stretching the equipment that they have out for a long periods of time, and also reusing a lot of that old equipment and using them for like fire seasons and just additional crew. Even if it's going from point A to point B, it's just to basically be able to recycle and reuse a lot of that stuff as well. And there's a lot of good things going towards paying our fire department, not only fighting fires, but being first responders and providing basic health and mobile crisis units. The Brad Davis talks a little bit more about the EMT program that they have initialized, and this is what he had to say.
And with that, we've had great accomplishments and achievements working with our local bargaining unit to put together a paramedic program where we've successfully been able to send 4 of our individuals to paramedic school per year. We have our second group in this semester right now started, so this will be our second year of doing that. And with that, and with our vision and goals in mind of meeting the ALS service, we felt it appropriate to increase the pay for our paramedics and how valuable they are to our community and to our department. And so that's how this was negotiated.
Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things happening, and the fire department are looking to expand a lot of their programs to help and just have more people train on EMT. So when they're usually one of the first responders to get to the scene of any kind of deal, and they're able to help people a lot more efficiently this way. There's like, honestly, if I'm even thinking about it, I don't notice too many fires that actually happens in the city of Missoula. Most of the fires that happens are kind of outside, like the fire seasons, and a lot of them get sent out and hot shots and all that stuff. So it's good that they're also kind of really just kind of spreading out their services and just being able to do this stuff. And on top of that, with the mobile health crisis unit that has been put into place to help mitigate any kind of mental health crisis that people may have. All right, moving on. TDS Cable Company is planning on moving and setting up shop here in Missoula to be in direct competition with Spectrum Charter Cable System. Jim Nugent, City Attorney, talks a little bit more about this.
Historically, we've never had cable companies compete head-to-head pursuant to the federal communications law. Originally, when we did our first franchise a little more than 30 years ago, there were 3 cable companies operating in Missoula, but they did not compete head-to-head. They had their own geographic areas, and we're not allowed to give exclusive franchises, but we encouraged all 3 to spread out and compete with each other, and no one ever made any effort to compete with each other. We had one in the Rattlesnake, one in Grant Creek, and then the main valley in that. So this is going to be the first time that you'll have direct competition with cable companies.
All right, so just to kind of like a little bit of background is that Spokane and Billings both have those kind of duo franchise deals, which means they'll still be able to get monies is being considered. This is how our channel is funded. Vast Broadband was a third cable company that was applying to also move into Missoula but has gone silent, and we haven't heard back from them. This is also a way for faster internet in Missoula County, but they suspect it will take up to 2 to 4, even 5 years with the geological sidetracks of digging through rocks. Right now, they are working out contracts and deals to make sure that they have equal opportunity to compete with Charter Spectrum, and this is good news for City and especially MCATs. Of course, let's switch gears once again, and we're going to go right back to the Poverello Center. Of course, I probably should have blocked everything about the POV together, but I'm just really short-sighted at this point. But one of the things is this is more towards providing security systems. Right now, they have security systems through Rogers International PLLC, which is out of the POV, and they're looking to expand that and have it part of the temporary shelters that are going to be around town as well. Emily Armstrong, Community Development for the City of Missoula, talks about the intention.
Word security can be really scary and elicit some really specific responses and pictures in people's minds. So I want to be really clear about what we mean when we say a security presence. We are not trying to create a security presence with a guard at a door who's making it really challenging to access services. On the contrary, we're actually trying to make services more accessible and safer. So we're really taking a trauma-informed harm reduction approach to security, recognizing that a lot of these folks in our shelter settings, there's a lot of law enforcement interaction at a lot of these sites just by nature of the crises that occur. And that's really traumatizing, really triggering for a lot of, the general population, let alone a population that has had interactions with law enforcement and criminal justice and may be extremely triggered by that presence. So a security presence we're hoping will help decrease the need for law enforcement to respond to those situations and therefore kind of take that harm reduction approach.
All right, so one of the things is if you think about it in terms of of reactive approaches. You know, you don't like them there unless you need them, and having them close to help the victims get the justice as soon as possible, and just kind of help mitigating some of the disputes that are happening there to help kind of like mitigate any kind of escalations that may happen there. But also they are working with doing some training for like doing some social trainings and learning about some what's that called? Just like, all right, the word mitigation. One of the big things they're just trying to figure out how to de-escalate situations, and it makes it easier for me to accept security at the library, which mitigates incidents by knowing their names. And I think it's really good to have a relationship with a lot of security guards, regardless of like. It's too easy to be like, oh, they're in a uniform, they're a security guard, they're doing their job. A lot of times it's best to actually talk to them and be more personable with them, so you actually have a better relationship with them rather than putting them on a certain light that a lot of people tend to put them in as well. So Rogers International PLLC will be contracted with the city as a temporary presence during these temporary shelters in an area of high impacts like the temporary outdoor space and all other 4 locations I mentioned earlier. But of course, if you are interested and want to learn more information, you can go to the city's website, ci.missoula.mt.us. It is a wonderful, wonderful resource for anybody to go to. You can click on meetings. It'll bring you to this page. And you just wait a couple seconds, boom, and it brings up a calendar. I like the calendar view because you can actually look up the meetings that all happen here, and they all send you to links to these little pop-ups right here. And you always want to like click on HTML, agenda, that kind of thing. It brings you to a new website, and then you go to this web page, and it kind of shows the agenda, which is really cool because if you actually click on any of these links that you see right here, let me just zoom in a little bit more. You can click on this. You can click on any of these, and the whole meeting will basically skip to that moment right there, 8 minutes into it. Of course, hopefully you guys can kind of see it, but just trust me on this, because that's a great resource for you guys to be able to utilize and get involved with your local government as well. All right, so let's move on. I do have an art clip provided by our very own Rick Phillips here at MCAT, and it features the Clay Studio of Missoula. Hey guys, welcome back. Let's talk about some events. Hey, are you looking to do some file management and you're just like, oh, where did all these files go that you downloaded? Why do documents keep disappearing? Where do those pictures go? Organize your files, save your emails, attachments, access information. Through the Lifelong Learning Center, they're doing a file management bootcamp starting this morning. They also do a bunch of other great activities and actually great new skills. The CPR certification. This is a good night school GED kind of deal, and it's off of 3rd Street, just right past the old Coke factory, which is becoming the Sovereign Church just now. All right, so library events. If you're interested in going to the library, Tiny Tales and Storytime start at congruently at 10:30 a.m. in the programs room and the arts room as well. Spectrum Discovery Center is doing their regular Spectrum stuff from 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m. They'll do it today and tomorrow, and it's going to be some great hands-on science exhibits. You can learn more about science through the University of Montana Spectrum program. Families First Learning Lab Community Connection. Every year they invite people and parents to come down, have their kids be watched, and then talk with parents who may or may not be struggling with some of their child rearing. And they're a great way to connect to the Families First Learning Lab, which is geared towards improving your parenting skills and figuring out a better way to have a better relationship with your child, even if you have fallen on hard times. 12 p.m. yarns and watercolor. If you're interested in doing, just bringing some of your own materials, doing some knitting, crocheting, that kind of stuff, all this is happening on the 4th floor. You can hang out with Rob P. with some watercolor, and you do some art stuff as well. And this happens all the time at noon Fridays. Spooky Special Kids Workshop. The Clay Studio of Missoula, like as you saw in that video that I just showed you, Clay Studio is a great resource for a lot of people who want to make their own bowls, pots, ashtrays, because that's like the first thing I made when I was a kid, and I work with potting and doing clay stuff. Students will make Jack O' Shakers, ornaments, instruments that make fabulous holiday decorations when not in use. Students can make the pumpkin that lasts forever and carve a fun, spooky jack-o'-lantern face or style with a colorful painted decoration, and this happens this afternoon at 2 p.m. And also at the public library, they have the Young Adulters Writers Group that's happening tonight at 3:30 p.m. And it's this afternoon here at the library, and I believe it's on the 3rd floor in one of the media rooms. You can ask for more information. This is just for creative writers and writers alike, just to kind of refine their skills, and it's for young adults. Geared towards teenagers, that kind of deal. And then there's the adult ballet class at Mismo Gymnastics. If you're somebody who wants to learn some ballet and just be part of this, is for 16 plus. And in some cases, ballet kind of ends once you turn 16. But in many cases, this is a great way for people to get active and get reactive in ballet of many different standards. Adult D&D Guild is going to be at 6 p.m. at the Missoula Public Library, and this is a great way for people to play some Dungeons and Dragons, meet some other people alike, maybe even start your own campaign. Haunted Prom is happening tonight at 7 p.m. If you are interested, it's $10 in advance or at the door. It's prom, but it's going to be related to Halloween. So all you goth kids, DJs, will be spinning spooky tunes. You got live music from local band partygoers known as the High Energy Live Performers, and swaggerous investigation of hip hop, house, and electronic music. Hey, it's a party. You get to have fun, all that stuff. And I don't see that there is an age limit associated with this. So I think this is this is definitely geared more towards teenagers for sure, because it's the concept of a prom. But Sisters Amnesia Nonsense Jamboree MCT for Performing Arts is doing a show for the next 2 weeks at MCT. You can go to MCT Inc. for more ticket information. A lively group of nuns and their sidekick priests will two-step on the MCT stage this fall to serve a constant and hilarious stream of knee-slapping hee-haw moments. Sister Amnesia Country Western Jamboree was written by Nonsense, which is a trinity of awards in 1986, and they had so many other plays as well, but you don't need to see this to know what's going on there. Some church humor, all that kind of stuff is a great opportunity as well. But if you are interested in doing other things this night, some late night events with some live music at the Cranky Sam Public House with the Strumming Bird Vagabond Duo. 13th Annual Pianissimo is going to be at the Music Building at the Recital Hall at the University of Montana, and Music presents the 13th Annual Pianissimo Concerts. They have a giant grand piano, probably worth $50,000 to $80,000 easily. This year's program is entitled Roll Over Beethoven, as he rolled over another year with the 250th birthday last year. As the program title suggests, there will be also an element of rock and roll this year's show, featuring familiar pop and rock songs, and all audience will enjoy. This isn't just an event that's happening tonight, it's also happening this weekend, but tonight's event's happening at 7:30 in the Music Building. Elephant Graveyard, Entice, Dragged Out, and Pathos and Logos is going to be at Monks. It's going to be DJ Club rap music. And that's all your events for Friday. Let's kick things off with some Saturday. Hey, we're getting into the end of the farmers market. Things are going to basically start trickling out. Of course, if they haven't already. A lot of produce and stuff is becoming more and more scarce. So if you guys wanted a chance to go to the farmers market, this is kind of your last time to really enjoy some of those farm stands. There's kind of cool things that happen that they bring it here to downtown Missoula. And the various locations are the red X's at the very end next to the train tracks. And then you have the other location next to the Carousel and Dragon's Hollow. And finally, you have the People's Market, which is in front of the Thomas Mar Bar off of Pine Street. All this stuff happens from about 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Peak hours are between 10 and 12, and those are kind of what's going on. Food and nutrients to help fight pain and inflammation. Red Willow Learning Center. So there's the Learning Center, but then there's the Red Willow Learning Center, which is another adult education. The food we eat each day has a tremendous ability to affect our body's ability to fight inflammation in the body and heal. Today we'll learn about foods that can make pain and inflammation worse, while also getting the power to learn how to keep pain and suffering away from choosing anti-inflammatory foods, nutrients, and some supplements when needed. And this is starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow at 700 South Avenue West, Suite C. Let's see. And it's a free workshop via Zoom, and the instructor is Heidi Moretti. Alberton Fall Craft Fair. So craft fair, hey, this is a big time, think about it, then like it's time for some great stocking stuffers, some gift bags and all that stuff. Alberton is hosting a craft fair at their community center, and you can come join them for their first craft fair pretty much ever, it seems like. Vendor spots are still open. Please contact Holly if you're interested, and you are more than welcome to check that out. It starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow at the Alberton Community Center. All right, Missoula Sports Card and Collectible Show. This is a kind of a big deal. This is kind of like a way for people to kind of trade and do trading cards, Pokemon gaming memorabilia and more. And this is a Missoula Sports Card and Collection Show. It's going to be at the Doubletree Motel at 10 a.m. tomorrow, and it's free admissions, family friendly. Bring friends and family to the Moon Randolph Homestead Open Days, which will be ending this year, year's sessions by the end of this month, and it's going to go from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can do your own self-guided tours, or you can also have public tours are available during the open days on a first-come, first-served basis. All right. Teen Open Studio, Missoula Museum is a great place for people and teenagers to do some art and some free art. You can bring some of your own supplies, but they also have open time for teens with free art supplies and the space to work. There'll be an education intern on site to serve as mentor, and this happens at 12 and it goes until about 3. But also what's happening is MCAT is also doing our drop-ins. Just be aware that we have a tendency to fill up, and so we have only 6 spots available, and it is a great opportunity for kids to do some stop animation, do some movie making, get just introduced into video editing and into MCAT and producing your own TV shows and all that stuff. And it happens every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. and it's geared towards kids aged 9 to about 13. And like every season, there's always Glacier Ice Rink over by Russell Street. They always have some kind of theme skate. This time, it's of course, what holidays happen this year? Halloween. So they're doing a spooky skate, and they're encouraging people to wear their costumes and skate for free. And this is from 1 to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Admission skates, if you want to rent a skate, is $12 per person. Each session is capped at 100 skaters, so be sure to register in advance using the online system at glacierIcerink.com. Sister Amnesia Nonsense Jamboree continues into the afternoon on Saturday at 2 p.m. So they have matinees and evening shows. 2 p.m. Usually matinees, and then they have like a 7:30 evening show. Sundays they kind of take it back and do a 6:30 show as well. But I also wanted to mention that there's going to be an unseen Missoula happening at the Roxy. Enjoy a chilling exploration into Missoula's haunted history, featuring dozens of ghostly encounters and unexplainable tales. This walking tour starts in front of the Roxy Theater and it takes approximately 90 minutes. As this Halloween tour is recommended to dress warm, and for the cool evening you'll be outdoors with comfortable walking shoes. Make sure you wear comfortable walking shoes is what they meant as well. And it starts at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday. Night orienting at Playfield Park. Hey, this is for people who need to find their way at night. Bring your compass, headlamp, beginner instruction will be provided, and this will be bring the necessary equipment. This is going to be at the Playfair Park, which is at the Fort Missoula Regional Park, the new kind of giant park that just happened, and then it starts at 7 p.m. Tomorrow night, and it's open to all age experience. Participants under 18 must be accompanied by an adult. It's going to get dark out there, and they're just trying to help people find their way in the dark. And then finally on Sundays, yes, there's a lot of events happening, pumpkin carvings, a lot of things happening leading up to the big night. It is Halloween, which is happening on a Sunday, but most of the parties and all this stuff are going to be happening on October 30th. So keep your eye out for those kind of things if you plan on going there, or just overtly avoiding them completely. Sunday, Skeleton Skedaddle 5K and Kids Pumpkin Plot. Silver Park, they're doing a 5K fun run starting at 9 a.m. on Sunday. Enjoy your family fun run with the Run Wild Missoula and UM's Physical Therapy Student Association and the Skeleton Skedaddle and the Kids Pumpkin Plod. Join this at Silver Park on Sunday, October 24th. So that's pretty much it for all your events and more. I kind of vamped a little bit longer than I should have, but if you want more information and you want to learn a little bit more about what's happening in the city of Missoula, you can go to MissoulaEvents.net. It is a wonderful website for knowing what's happening in Missoula, what to do, and what's always happening. But you can always look at there's resources on their Facebook page and more to learn about more events that are happening and are upcoming and are ongoing. So yeah, that's about it. I wanted to thank you guys for joining me this morning. And for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramp. Take care, guys.